Hello and welcome to Frost Over the World. Later in the programme, I'll be joined by that glamorous young singer, Paloma Faith, and that glamorous young comedian, Eddie Izzard. But first, the news that's dominated all of this week, the death of the world's most wanted man, Osama bin Laden. As new details of the mission trickle out each day, what does the death of bin Laden mean to President Obama, America, and the world as a whole? A man who's well placed to answer all of these questions is Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Bob Woodward, who's been described by CBS's Bob Schieffer as the best reporter of our time. He may even be the best reporter of all time, end quote. Bob has had intimate access to the Obama administration for his latest book and earlier ones, but his latest one is his 16th bestseller, Obama's Wars. And he's with us now. Bob, it's great to see you again. Welcome. And let me ask, first of all, after the events of the death of Osama bin Laden, do you think that America is safer, a bit safer as a result of that? And do you think that Al-Qaeda is weaker after that?
Well, I think in the short run, there's the possibility of some sort of reprisal, revenge attack by Al-Qaeda or one of these self-radicalized extremists in the United States may look at the death of bin Laden as a triggering event. So in the short run, we're probably less safe. I suspect in the long run, this is pretty demoralizing for Al-Qaeda. As you know, with the CIA drone attacks, they were killing the number 3 in the organization regularly. Now they have killed the number 1. If they get Dr. Zawahiri, the number 2, you have kind of a decapitation of the leadership, and people out there who are members of the organization or wanting to join Al-Qaeda may have second thoughts and say, gee, am I on the right team or the wrong team? So in the long run, it probably makes the country and the world safer from these people. But if there is a big attack in the United States, or any attack in the United States, you really could have people saying, wait a minute, and Dick Cheney, the former vice president, will come out and say, see, they weren't tough enough.
Yeah, that is a possible comment indeed. But I mean, it's also possible that, in the light of what you're saying, that Al-Qaeda as such would probably splinter into groups and not remain as an entity like it is today. That's possible, isn't it?
Of course, it's possible that Al-Qaeda could do that. I mean, in a sense, it's splintered already. There are groups that are quite powerful, Al-Qaeda affiliates in Yemen particularly, in Somalia, other places in the world. So the intelligence suggests that it's already decentralized. There's some information that the U.S. government has that the senior leadership of Al-Qaeda, bin Laden before he was killed, that these people had taken themselves out of the plans and operations business and were letting the affiliates and people under them decide on operations. So it's a dangerous time. I think everyone's on alert in the world, but we're going to see. And you know, you can't ever have perfect intelligence and stop all of these attacks.
Been a number of comments about the fact that one of the main reasons we focused on Afghanistan to the extent that we did was, of course, because Osama bin Laden was supposed to be there and so on and so forth. Now he's been eliminated. Is it possible that, and knowing the president is not that keen on expanding activity into Afghanistan, will this be a trigger for America being able to withdraw a bit quicker from Afghanistan or not?
We'll see. I did this book last fall, Obama's Wars, yes, and did a full excavation of his decision-making on the Afghan war when he added 30,000 troops. It's very clear from the reporting, from interview with President Obama, he just does not like war and wants to get out of Afghanistan as rapidly as possible. without running away, without having, sending the message, we're weak, or America or President Obama is losing their nerve. And this event may provide him in a couple of months. He said he would begin the withdrawal of some troops. There are lots of numbers flying around. I think it's not going to be a really giant number, but I think the bin Laden death allows him to say, look, the worry was Al-Qaeda would come back to Afghanistan. In these secret meetings, which I chart in the book, it's President Obama who says the poison is in Pakistan. It turns out the chief poison was bin Laden, and we know he was in Pakistan now. And maybe they'll be able to say, let's turn more attention to Pakistan. Let's not get tangled up in what is called nation building, helping the Afghan government build sewers and schools and protect the population, and turn more of that over to them. Certainly Vice President Biden and lots of people, a lot of political people in the Obama White House would like to accelerate that process of getting out of Afghanistan.
And that links into, of course, the effect of the events of this past week, the effect on the next election, obviously, which everybody's wondering about, and whether this will have a spectacular effect on improving the situation of the president in the polls and so on. Do you think this will have a lasting effect on the next election?
It sure could. You know, when you and I were covering the Nixon era and so forth, and you go back to the 1972 election when Nixon won in a landslide. He won in a landslide on Vietnam, of all things, which was increasingly unpopular in the United States, but Nixon demonstrated that he was tough, that he was not going to back down. And people want a tough president. And Obama's now got that credential. I was talking to somebody who is involved in all of these events and said we may be seeing the real final transformation of Barack Obama into a wartime president. As you know, the attraction for presidents dealing with wars and foreign policy, where they are the decider. They don't have to take a vote in their National Security Council. Congress is somewhat sidelined on these issues, so the presidents have the ball, and all of a sudden, Obama sees this one on this issue, and I think the psychology of it is in his favor. Now, put in another attack and other problems, economic problems, political problems in this country, and that may be nullified, but he's standing with the tough leaders now, and that's exactly, I mean, some people in the White House call it the Barack Obama Inoculation Act. He is now almost immune from this criticism, but as we know, events change, and we don't ever really get a good look at the future until it happens.
You feel more upbeat at the end of this week than you did a couple of weeks ago.
In the United States, we have to be real careful we don't have our head in the sand and think only about ourselves. How is this going down in the rest of the world? And I haven't really done much reporting on that. You people are going to be the experts.
Well, that will be a great responsibility. Bless you. It's such a joy to have this chance to talk, and look forward hopefully to seeing you soon. And thank you for all your words, and thank you for being with us too.
David, thanks so much. Good talking to you.
Thanks to Bob Woodward there. So what will be the impact then of this killing, both on US-Pakistan relations and on the next US presidential race? I'm joined now by a man widely tipped as a possible Republican candidate for that race, former US Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton. John, welcome back. It's good to have you with us.
Very glad to be with you.
Tell me, a number of people have written after President Obama's actions over the bin Laden situation that the result has made him near certain to retain the presidency in the next presidential election. Do you believe it will have that lasting an effect?
No, I don't think it will. Remember, I was in George H.W. Bush's administration at the end of the first Persian Gulf War. His approval rating was 91%, and he later lost to Bill Clinton. The president has received a bump in his approval rating. He deserves it. It was a courageous decision to authorize this attack that killed bin Laden. He should enjoy the bump in the polls because it will be temporary.
Temporary. Very brief, you think? Very brief, but before which other issues will come back to swamp it?
Well, I think the economy, even as we speak, is overwhelming it. Employment rates have fallen again, even though there's some encouraging job numbers. The economy continues to falter. And I think overall the president's foreign policy remains inadequate. This decision, as I say, was courageous. It could have gone wrong. Like Carter's Desert One effort to rescue American hostages from Iran. But the fact was it was a success. Americans feel good. When they feel good, approval ratings for the president go up. But it will be temporary.
The Pakistan authorities insist that they did not know, in fact, that bin Laden was there. Do you believe that statement?
Well, I don't believe it's credible. I think it's impossible that at least some people in the Pakistani government not only didn't know about it, but were likely supporting bin Laden. The evidence, I think, points to the Inter-Services Intelligence Directorate, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see the evidence that comes off the hard drives from the computers taken from bin Laden's compound and other evidence there. I don't think that necessarily means the entire Pakistani government was complicit, but I think there are going to be some very difficult conversations because this is something that obviously is a huge issue for the United States. It should be a huge issue for Pakistan, which itself and its democratic aspirations are threatened by al-Qaeda and terrorists like the Taliban.
Sarah Palin has called Obama's decision not to publish those photographs of the dead bin Laden, has called that pussyfooting. Is she right, or was it correct caution on the part of the president?
Well, I would release the photos. I think it's important to prove to as many people as possible that, in fact, it was bin Laden and that he is dead. I noticed the typically official al-Qaeda website has acknowledged that bin Laden's dead. That's helpful, too. I wouldn't have buried bin Laden at sea. Frankly, I would have brought the body to Guantanamo Bay and let the Red Cross or other international objective observers go and conclude that it was bin Laden. This is a very significant development. We should do whatever we can to try and avoid conspiracy theories that, like Elvis Presley, somehow bin Laden's still alive.
Does the death of bin Laden, though, in fact mean that we have less need to be in Afghanistan, do you think?
No, not at all. I think our experts believe that it's been some number of years since bin Laden has really been operationally in control of al-Qaeda. I think this is actually the moment to put more pressure on both Taliban and al-Qaeda in Afghanistan and in Pakistan as well. I would not take this as an appropriate moment to begin withdrawing substantial numbers of American and other NATO forces from Afghanistan, but I will predict to you, I think that's the direction President Obama will go in, which is another piece of evidence why foreign policy is still going to be an important issue in next year's U.S. presidential election.
In this case, in this unique situation in the world at the moment, foreign policy will remain a hot topic in a domestic election.
I think there's no doubt about it. We're coming up to the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. I think the threats in the world continue. We still have unrest, turmoil in the Middle East. We still have Iran vigorously pursuing nuclear weapons. We still have the problem of North Korea. There's no doubt the economy is going to be an incredibly important issue, but I think those who write foreign policy off politically are making a big mistake.
And so will candidates be making a big mistake, you say, if they are one-issue candidates?
Yes, I think there's going to be a number of issues that are going to be important to the American people. Obviously, my own background is foreign policy, but if I decide to get into this, I will cover the full range of issues. I think that's very important. If I decide to run, I will run to win.
And we have seen an election where a black man was elected President of the United States. Do you think the American people are ready to elect a man with a moustache?
Well, the last successful candidate with a mustache was William Howard Taft. Right. That's not exactly my model. Maybe the one before him, Theodore Roosevelt, would be a better model.
Yeah, I think you're wise if you take that course, I think. Very wise indeed. And when will you make your decision, or have you more or less made it, to run for the presidency?
No, I'm still considering it. I think the schedule of this election cycle has been pushed back quite a bit. That obviously benefits non-traditional candidates. I think there's no coalescence yet around any Republican figure for the nomination, but I think President Obama is very vulnerable next year, and there's a great hunger to replace him, and it's a question of settling on the right candidate to do that.
But it could be you.
It certainly could be. As Obama himself proves, in America, any little boy or girl can grow up to be president.
John, thank you very much indeed for being with us with that tour d'horizon, and we look forward to having you with us again soon. Thanks a million.
Well, thank you very much.
Where does this all leave relations between Pakistan and her Western allies, noticeably the US and Britain? Well, with me is Wajid Shamsul Hassan, the Pakistan High Commissioner to Britain. Your Excellency, welcome.
Thank you very much, Sir David. It's a pleasure to be with you.
And it's reciprocated, very much so. Tell me, what effect have the events of the last few days had on relations, do you think, between the UK and Pakistan and the US and Pakistan? Has it been a difficult time?
Well, it has been a difficult time, no doubt about it, Sir David. But the fact is, as far as the relationship with the United Kingdom are concerned, they are solid, they're all-weather-proof relationship. And you must have noticed that Prime Minister David Cameron has come out openly in support of democracy in Pakistan. And he said democratic government in Pakistan needs to be supported in this war against terrorism. That is a very welcome statement at this hour when we are under the flag following the Osama incident. Yes, definitely our relationship with the United States has gone under the cloud, and it has been, you know, coming and going from that cloud, black cloud. And since it has never been all-weather-proof relationship, it was more based on expediency. If there was some sort of strategic interest involved in the region, Americans would come to us for help and we would help them. But there was no such sort of permanency as we have with the United Kingdom. United Kingdom and us have been very good friends. They've stood by us in most difficult times, and they're standing by us at this juncture as well. And we appreciate that.
And what really are the most controversial parts about this? One of the things, of course, is people say, how could Osama bin Laden have lived there for up to 6 years without anybody, without any Pakistan soldiers or whatever else finding him? I mean, how was that possible, do you think?
Well, my simple answer would be, how did it happen? 9/11. You know, it was the most sophisticated country in the world. They had the best surveillance system, best spying system, yet those people managed to demolish Twin Towers and crash into Pentagon. And I believe CIA had advanced information about that as well. So it was one-off incident. Similarly, this is one-off incident. We never thought that he will be somewhere here, because he was, usually we were told by the Americans and our other friends, the Western friends, that he is seen somewhere in Afghanistan, somewhere in North Waziristan, South Waziristan, and not this part of the country, because this part of the country was a sort of civil part of the country where we have properly, you know, a hill station where tourists come and go, and it wouldn't have been so obvious for Osama to take refuge there. But he thought it better because he perhaps thought that this is a much publicly visited place, so he would keep go into hiding and nobody would notice it, and that is perhaps what happened. And to say that Pakistan knew about it, I think it's now stretching the matter too far.
Right, and so you would say that there were no people living in Pakistanis living in Pakistan who knew where he was. There was no one.
There was nobody who knew that he was there in that place. They knew that he had been moving about in the northern areas. You know, he was leading a life of a nomad, or you call gypsy.
Right.
He was never at one place. He used to keep on moving. He was under strict surveillance by the Americans and the British and all the NATO forces. And so they knew where he was. But we did not. I wish they had informed us he was there. We would have helped them. Because if you look at our track record, and I'm very, we are hurt. As a matter of fact, I used the word, we have been hurt below the belt, in the sense that we are being distrusted on this one incident when we have arrested 242 top leaders of Al-Qaeda and handed them over to the Americans, which included Khalid Mohammed Sheikh, Abu Zubaydah, Libby, and so many others. I don't even remember their names. We handed them over to the Americans, and they were rotting in Guantanamo Bay and all that. So to distrust us is definitely uncut and very unkind and cut.
Uncut. And that particularly, you feel that maybe partially Britain, but particularly America, doesn't realize the sacrifices that you feel that the country of Pakistan has made.
So David, you have put such a right question. As a matter of fact, if you look at it, we have lost 30,000 civilians, and we have lost 5,000 finest trained soldiers, generals, brigadiers, majors who spent lifetime in army training themselves. We lost them, and they all were lost. They gave their sacrifices to fight these terrorists, to eliminate them from Pakistani soil, so that they do not pose a threat to Pakistan as well as to our neighbors. And we believe that any threat to Pakistan could also be a threat to our neighbors. So we are really very particular about it, that we should not allow anybody to use Pakistani territory for those sort of activities.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Pleasure.
Those strong, rousing words. We appreciate you being with us, and we'll certainly review this situation again soon. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much.
Our thanks to His Excellency there. In a minute, singer Paloma Faith on class, comedian Eddie Izzard on democracy, and what else after this short break.